Thabi, thanks so much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
I mean, we're all waiting and waiting and waiting for some change to happen right now. My question to you is, are you surprised that it's taking so long?
I'm surprised that it's happening at all. And I say this because there's nothing new that the current president, Zuma, has done. What has happened is that we had the conference and we had new elected leaders in the ANC, and we have obviously a new president of the ANC. But we also have a democratically elected president. So the push to remove him is creating uncertainty. And so I'm just wondering, shouldn't this have been done previously? Mm-hmm. Or if they really feel that they should do it now, I think they should do it in a more measured and maybe behind the scenes, so that by the time he resigns, it's a little bit of a surprise, but a welcome surprise. Because right now it's very messy.
Yeah, very messy. I mean, and in terms of Cyril Ramaphosa's leadership style, did he potentially get ahead of himself by thinking it would be so easy? Because, I mean, he went to Davos and told people our problems would be sorted out soon. He went on international media agencies and told them that no, a plan to remove Zuma was imminent. I mean, did he get ahead of himself in promising too much too soon?
I think he did, and he set this expectation that by the time he comes back, the current president will be gone, and it's proving to be a lot more difficult than that. So the market is expecting Zuma to leave. The market is expecting Cyril Ramaphosa to step in and stick to the promises that he made at Davos, and that's not happening. Mm-hmm. So I think he did overpromise. And currently it's so out of control in terms of even the press conferences, the ad hoc press conferences, the ad hoc comments that are made by the top six. It's clear that the top six are not aligned. It's obvious that there needs to actually be some form of someone to tell them that this is how you communicate. Mm-hmm. And only one person communicates to the public, and they communicate when there is something to communicate. But currently, I guess in this, there's statements made on Twitter by all six.
There's fake news being thrown around.
And it's not aligned. Mm. It's not aligned. The top six are all releasing statements that are not aligned to each other, which is also very confusing.
Very, very confusing. But Thabi, let's just dial back, right? So President Jacob Zuma has been in the seat since 2009. So just refresh us of his economic legacy in that time up until now.
Yeah, I mean, President Jacob Zuma became the president at a very difficult time globally for the global economy. And this is because we had the 2008-2009 financial crisis. But when other countries have recovered somewhat, and our emerging market peers, we didn't. And we did in many aspects. So not necessarily on just a GDP growth perspective, but also when you hear reports by Stats SA on the level of poverty and how it has regressed since in the past, and yet we had always thought that actually we're doing a lot better. Mm. But learning that 55% of South Africans are living under in poverty, youth unemployment is still high. The unemployment rate is at its highest in records at 27%. These are the things that just are quite, I guess, sad, given that we're supposed to be moving forward and actually correcting the legacy of apartheid. And I don't think we have done it in a pace that we could have. I think that there are a lot of missed opportunities. One thing that I should say that he did was, and quite well, in terms of gathering people to endorse the NDP. And that was supposed to be the holy grail of South Africa's economic path. And the National Development Plan, you look at other countries like India and China, the Asian countries have had these plans since the 50s and 60s. And when you speak to investors about this, especially when I went on roadshows in 2012 and I spoke to investors about this NDP, they were very warm to it. They finally thought South Africa has bought into something and we're on our way to recovery and solving some of our structural problems. And it was spearheaded by somebody who was also very lauded by many in the public, and that's the former minister Trevor Manuel. And it was done in consultation with a lot of people, labor, NGOs, civil society. And so the disappointing part is that after its endorsement at the conference in 2012, it wasn't adopted. It wasn't adopted in its entirety or in a way that would satisfy South Africa. And I use the word satisfy, and I mean that in the way that you see the development, you see that the National Development Plan is actually at work, because unemployment is now reducing, or education, levels of education are improving. But we didn't really see that.
And it went the other way.
It went the other way. And the disappointing part, I think, for the government, looking back, is that even when we continuously said, where's the NDP? How come you're not implementing the NDP? There's this tendency in South Africa to protect and to defend.
Complacency.
And rather than actually looking at what people are saying and thinking, you know what, actually they're right. We haven't really done this in a way that they want, and they need to see tangibly that the NDP is at work. Look at the houses, look at the health system, look at the education system. But when people don't see it, they start questioning it. And when you as a government are busy shielding and protecting and defending instead of actually doing, I think that's a problem.
No, for sure. And not to mention the fact that Zuma also brought South Africa, or was at the top when South Africa entered a recession in a very long time, and also is being blamed for this junk status that we have now by ratings agencies. How do you think they're looking at this entire situation right now?
You know, for me, it's the uncertainty that's bothering me. I mean, the IMF in January, sorry, not the IMF, the World Bank released a note to say that one of the issues that they have with South Africa is this political uncertainty. And politics drive the economy. And you know, I saw it especially last year, where even as an economist, it was very difficult to forecast. It was very difficult to talk to investors and talk to clients about where you see growth and why certain parts of the economy are going to grow, because policy was changing and people typically hold back. Business holds back, and they don't put money into, or at least they don't invest in their businesses or even in SA Inc. because they want to wait and see. And so it's just very difficult looking at the economy and trying to predict what's going to happen when there's all these curveballs happening politically. And then you have the downgrades, which then was, I think, quite devastating, given that we hadn't been downgraded since we were rated. And now we find ourselves in this position, and we only have one rating agency, and that's Moody's, that is yet to downgrade us. And remember that Moody's said that they are reviewing us for a downgrade. We are on review for a downgrade. So we actually have to do exceptionally well to come out of that downgrade review, and I don't think we're doing that.